In this day and age, it's definitely easy to get bogged down by some of the bullshit AAA publishers are trying to pull. Like EA, for example, recently tried to rebrand loot boxes to skirt around scrutiny. They're calling them surprise mechanics now. That's something that I'll make fun of for a while. Fortunately, there are still studios out there who do understand the importance of integrity, who actually are purely producing products based on passion, on delivering the best bang for your buck, on creating products and business models that they themselves would want to partake in if they were on the consumer side of the fence. One such company is, of course, CD Projekt Red. There's a reason behind why they're perceived as sort of the shining beacon of the gaming industry. So many gamers think that everyone should follow CD Projekt Red's example when it comes to how consumer-friendly they are, and for good reason. What Keanu Reeves is to Hollywood right now is basically what CD Projekt Red is to gaming, which is in part why I think Keanu Reeves working on a CD Projekt Red game is such a great match made in heaven. Now, we've already discussed all of these consumer-friendly commitments that CD Projekt Red has made for Cyberpunk 2077. They have talked about how that game will have no microtransactions, no loot boxes, no DRM, no exclusivity of any kind, that the game will ship free DLCs down the line, as well as paid expansions that are reasonably priced with comprehensive content. The list just goes on. And CD Projekt Red definitely is remaining committed to that path, especially judging by their recent actions and practices throughout E3 2019. Which is why I put together this video. I want to show you guys 7 ways CD Projekt Red went above and beyond during this year's event. Number 1, I really want to emphasize CD Projekt Red's consumer-friendly packaging scheme and pricing model for Cyberpunk 2077. You may recall that images of the Standard Edition leaked before E3 2019 actually started, and at a glance, a lot of people looked at this and went, oh, that's clearly the Deluxe Edition. But then they remembered that when Witcher 3 launched way back when, the boxed Standard Edition actually came with a world map, some stickers, a game manual, a soundtrack CD, and a compendium for the world of Witcher on top of the game itself, all for just the base $60 price. Once people recalled that, they looked at this packaging here for Cyberpunk 2077, and a lot of people immediately became privy to the fact that this is actually probably the Standard Edition, and we know now for sure that this is indeed the case. There's that unboxing video where they show all the contents of this package. We know now that the Standard Edition of Cyberpunk comes with the game itself, a map, stickers, a postcard, a world compendium, plus a number of digital goodies that include the game soundtrack, digital art, digital wallpapers, and a PDF of the Cyberpunk 2020 tabletop sourcebook, which is the source material that 2077 is derived from. Let me iterate again that you're getting all of this shit for a mere $60 for the base price. Other companies would easily charge $80 to $100 and then put a deluxe edition label on it and just overcharge essentially. But not CD Projekt Red. And beyond offering what is a jam-packed Standard Edition, they're also offering a really comprehensive Collector's Edition for 2077. Now, obviously it's pretty expensive. It's a hefty $250, which is $50 more than the Collector's Edition from Witcher 3. But I think that for hardcore fans, they're more than willing to pay that price because the package offers a lot. I think, me personally, it'll be worth it because I'm just super excited for this game, and I actually really want to support CD Projekt Red as a company because they're the best the gaming industry has to offer right now, in my opinion. Beyond how comprehensive CD Projekt Red Standard and Collector's Editions are, I also have to highlight the fact that CD Projekt Red is keeping things simple. They only offer 2 packages here, Standard and Collectors, nothing else in between. They don't do the whole, offering a dozen editions to pick and choose from, each with their own set of content, with some featuring things that you might miss out on the other, all as a means to confuse consumers into spending more than $60. They're just leaving 2 simple choices for consumers, a Standard Edition that already comes jam-packed with stuff, or a Collector's Edition that comes with even more stuff, albeit a lot more expensive. But even with that Collector's Edition, you don't really feel like you're being ripped off. You feel like you're relatively getting your money's worth. So yeah, this is CD Projekt Red once again setting an example when it comes to what's possible if you legitimately really give a shit about consumers and you are actually intent on giving them the best bang for their buck. So that's just one way CD Projekt Red went above and beyond at E3 2019. They revealed very consumer-friendly packages and pricing models for their upcoming AAA title. Number 2, let's talk about that secret message that CD Projekt Red left behind for people to find. I've already talked about this, but for those who missed that last video, basically in the unboxing videos that CD Projekt Red posted for the standard and collector's editions of Cyberpunk 2077, they hid some stuff in that footage that linked to some files. People discovered this, they pulled the files, and they found that among them was this README text with a statement that basically talked about CD Projekt Red's goals and intent with how they reveal the game, with the packaging, etc. In this secret message, CD Projekt Red was pretty candid about why Cyberpunk 2077's E3 2019 demo was behind closed doors or only shown to E3 attendees. They emphasized the importance of having to increase hype so that word can spread and more people can learn about this game for more potential sales before they can actually show that gameplay to the public, which is happening, by the way. On August 30th, they are releasing this demo to the public, but for now they want to keep the hype cycle going. They also discussed the importance of presenting two simple options, just a standard and collectors, rather than making it feel like there's something nefarious going on by giving people too many options and, different exclusive stuff for each. They also talked about the importance of making each edition feel jam-packed, the standard edition in particular, which they hope will raise the bar when it comes to what it means to be standard. Because, other game companies are doing the bare minimum these days for the $60 packages. They'll just ship the game and leave kind of extra goodies for their higher tier, higher priced editions. Finally, the message closed off by emphasizing that if people don't feel like they're 100% sure about Cyberpunk 2077, they shouldn't pre-order it. Yeah, there aren't many other video game companies out there who will actively encourage people to be conscious about their purchase decisions, to only hit that pre-order button when they feel like they're absolutely confident. Other companies will try to get your pre-order by any means necessary through pre-order bonuses and all these schemes that pressure people into spending money before they're fully aware of a game's contents, its quality, before the reviews comes out, before the monetization schemes are laid bare, so on and so forth. At the same time, CD Projekt Red was very candid in stating that pre-orders do go a long way in ensuring retail sales, that it's a great way to give CD Projekt Red a vote of confidence and your support. But at the same time, they aren't shoving pre-orders down your throats. You're not gonna miss out on anything by not pre-ordering, unlike with many other AAA titles. They're just saying, hey, if you can pre-order, that's cool. If not, we understand, that's smart. Be smart. They're just being very open about the pros and cons of pre-ordering, laying out why you should or maybe you shouldn't pre-order. They're laying out both sides of the equation. So yeah, this whole hidden message is wonderful. I think it's just a great way to engage with the community. I love the ARG aspect of it where people had to kind of solve a puzzle before they could access it. And this kind of stuff is just very welcome in this day and age where companies feel more closed off, more opaque than ever. This level of communication is just something we don't see with many publishers and developers these days. And I feel like a lot of developers want to be more open, but publishers won't let them do that for, business reasons or whatever. Moving on, we have number 3, the third way CD Projekt Red went above and beyond during E3 2019 is that they actually listened to pleas from fans who wanted a PC collector's edition. For those who are not familiar with the story, for some reason CD Projekt Red had trouble making physical editions for PC versions of Cyberpunk 2077, specifically in the United States and Canada. PlayStation 4 and Xbox One are getting boxed standard and collector's editions across the board, but for PC, in the US and Canada, for some reason, they could only ship digital versions. From what I understand, this wasn't CD Projekt Red's decision. If it were up to them, they would have just, had physical standard and collector's edition across the board for all platforms, for all countries. I'm not 100% sure what the issue was, but I do get the sense that it has more to do with the publishing side of things, given that CD Projekt Red is working with external companies to distribute Cyberpunk 2077 in different countries. Whatever the case, for a while we were under the impression that PC players in the US and Canada were not going to get a standard boxed edition with all the goodies, or the collector's edition with even more goodies. The PC gaming community was obviously frustrated, understandably so, because, PC gamers love these boxed editions as much as console players. So there was an overwhelming amount of people saying, hey, please bring collector's editions to US and Canada, these two big markets. It wasn't long before CD Projekt Red actually hopped into action and notified everyone that they're working behind the scenes to make sure PC collector's editions and boxed standard editions can be shipped to US and Canada. And not long after that, CD Projekt Red tweeted out that they've managed to secure PC collector's edition for US and Canadian customers. They gave people a heads up as to when we can expect pre-order sales to go up, and so that made a lot of people happy. I will say this though, the PC Collector's Edition did sell out in a matter of like seconds, a minute tops, so hopefully they'll produce more. A lot of people still missed out, so, fingers crossed that they'll be considerate and try to ship even more of these coveted collector's editions. But still, I do think it's cool CD Projekt Red is making the effort. They're trying to work around whatever issues are happening with shipping collector's editions to US and Canadian customers, and they're just trying to make things happen for fans. They're trying to keep fans happy. This brings us to number 4. CD Projekt Red treated those who attended E3 2019 like they matter. They treated them very well. Many of you will know by now that those who were invited to the Behind Closed Doors presentation got a free bomber jacket. Really high quality. It's reversible. One side is black with the samurai logo. The other side is yellow with the Cyberpunk 2077 logo. It doesn't feel flimsy like they cheapened out. It's a solid ass jacket. Now, at one point, we did start seeing some of these jackets being sold on eBay for exorbitant prices. To that, CD Projekt Red actually responded by warning people to not buy these because they are planning to make similar jackets available in the merch store for everyone to purchase. This is, of course, down the line. It's not something that's happened yet, but, they're telling people you're going to be able to get these for much cheaper. Don't go on eBay and fall for this nonsense. Beyond handing out all this merchandise and committing towards eventually allowing the public to get their hands on them, CD Projekt Red was just in general really gracious to attendees based on my experience, based on what I've seen. As an example, one cool thing they did was that on the very last showcase of the Behind Closed Doors presentation, as people walked out, they decided to cheer and applaud everyone. That footage actually made some headlines, it got a lot of attention, and that's because it doesn't feel like other companies do stuff like this. There isn't that level of sincerity and that level of wanting to connect with the community. There was also that one footage on Twitter showing Haitian people who attended the Behind Closed Doors demo, and they saw that Haitian people were featured in the game, and they were super happy about that. And one of the developers, quest designer Powell Sasko, actually went out of his way to greet them, and they had this candid conversation about how cool, the representation of Haitian people was. They talked about how they nailed the Creole language, and yeah, just everyone seemed happy about the way these characters were brought to life. A lot of people seemed to think these were badass characters, and a few people thought the Haitian people were offensively represented. I feel like most sensible people understand that, this is a work of fiction, these are gangs, but within the context of this world, there's just something badass about the Voodoo Boys, this gang of netrunners. There's also that moment where the one guy yelled, "You're breathtaking," during the Microsoft press conference, which prompted Keanu Reeves to shout back, "You're breathtaking, you're all breathtaking." That guy, CD Projekt Red eventually tracked down, and they're giving him a free collector's edition of Cyberpunk 2077. Gestures like these go a long way in making this all feel like a two-way street, like we're all in this together, the publisher, the developers, and the consumers alike. Number 5, aside from CD Projekt Red developers being gracious to attendees, they were also pretty gracious to, media outlets who were there to work and to actually be honest and talk about what their experience was like watching the game and get that out there to people. I got to talk to a number of the CD Projekt developers there, and they were all just genuinely passionate about what they were doing. So as an example, before I did my interviews with Mike Pondsmith and Mateusz Tomaszkiewicz, I got to talk with another developer. His name is Paweł Sasko, and we actually had this really great exchange where we talked about how we love each other's work, and we share these ideas about what we love about games and what we want in our games moving forward, what our principles are on that front. This wasn't an interview, by the way. We just kind of ran into each other and started talking all of a sudden. He told me about how he strives to, keep pushing the boundaries of storytelling and gameplay rather than trying to conform to what everyone else is doing and keeping it at that level. He always wants to raise the bar a little bit every time. He told me, for example, how he designed the miscarriage quest in Witcher 3 and how there were initial doubts about whether that would be acceptable, whether that would be reviled, but he just went for it anyway, and now it's one of the most memorable quests because they went into it with the context necessary to make this a compelling story rather than kind of just a shock factor. And he told me that he's trying to bring the same level of storytelling to this game, this new game, Cyberpunk 2077. We also talked a bit about the jam-packed standard edition. I told him how great that was, and he said, I don't understand why other companies don't do this because including things like stickers, a map, a compendium, a postcard, and these various goodies is not super expensive. Like, if you know as a company you're going to sell millions of copies for a game, including these extra goodies shouldn't be a major issue from a financial perspective. So that was an interesting bit of insight there. And I didn't feel at any point that I was being groomed or anything. It just really felt like two people who are passionate about similar things having a heart-to-heart. It was just a level of interaction that I just don't get to have with other developers to that extent, at least. And I had a similar experience when speaking with Mike Pondsmith and Mateusz Tomaszkiewicz, both of who are super chill to talk to. I was super tired that day. It was towards the end of that E3 day. But as soon as I started talking to them, I was just really interested in what they had to say, and it was just a nice conversation that revitalized me. In general, it also feels a lot easier to reach CD Projekt Red than other companies. A lot of other AAA publishers and their developers, you'll have to go through like a PR company and then they'll see if they can arrange something. You seldom have like direct contact with some of these developers, whereas with CD Projekt Red, they seem like they're going out of their way to try to make communication as direct as possible, trying to cut out the middleman. And when you do reach out, everyone seems super open. The Cyberpunk 2077 Twitter page and CD Projekt Red developers seem to respond often to people asking questions. And when I reach out to some of these developers to ask questions, they respond pretty promptly. Like after my interview with Mateusz, I had a few other questions and I sent him an email and he responded really quickly, and that allowed me to be even more detailed in my play-by-play video of the E3 2019 demo I saw, which was super helpful. So yeah, I don't know, their presence at E3 2019 to me felt like there was a level of care and sincerity when it comes to how they treated just general attendees, how they treated media outlets, how they try to be open, and how they try to appeal to the gaming community as a whole and keeping their ears open and celebrating with everyone. It felt very communal. I didn't get the sense that there was a lot of like PR speak or bullshit or, skirting around certain issues and stuff. They seemed very straightforward overall. And that's not to say that other developers and companies don't care, but in the presence of CD Projekt Red, it feels like they are paying a lot of attention in evoking that sense of welcoming everyone. You don't get that rift of, company versus media and consumers. And that's in large part, I think, because CD Projekt Red isn't the kind of company that really has much to hide. They're not delving into all this monetization bullshit, so they can be pretty blunt about that aspect. They aren't going out of their way to trick customers or to nickel and dime them. That level of honesty that you feel when they put out, PR statements or secret messages, you feel it in person as well, is what I found. Now, being nice is great and all, but none of that would matter without a proper showcase of a game, which brings us to number 6. They freaking knocked their presentation out of the park, both in terms of what they showed the public and what they showed media outlets. I personally think CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk 2077 won E3, And it's not just because they were nice, it's because they worked hard, they showed some awesome gameplay that really seems like it'll raise the bar for gaming as a whole, and they just legitimately earned the praise and renown they're getting from their E3 2019 presence. I talked plenty about the demo itself. I have that play-by-play video that I uploaded. It's like an hour long describing everything that I saw. And yeah, I mean, I just loved how they had one mission and they had two builds, essentially two character builds, and they kept switching back and forth to showcase how differently you can tackle certain missions, and it looked really great. A lot of branching, diverging potential in terms of both playstyle as well as the narrative, where you can make certain choices that will have a lot of impact with who you associate with and what kinds of interactions you have and how the story moves forward. And then there is that Keanu Reeves reveal, of course, which, you know, is the highlight of E3 2019 and straight up one of the best moments of E3 history, in my opinion. Yeah, celebrity reveals can be a hit or miss. Sometimes they feel awesome. Other times they feel really ham-fisted. In the case of Keanu Reeves, it was just amazing. I think he's a perfect choice, both in terms of him being this super nice guy, probably the most humble man in Hollywood, and also him actually fitting the role of Johnny Silverhand. This doesn't just feel like they're trying to plug in a celebrity to gain attention. It feels like a good choice, like a legitimately good choice for the character that they assigned him to. So the bottom line is this: CD Projekt Red brought both style and substance to E3 2019 when other companies brought one or the other, or neither. Last but not least, number 7. I talked before about how CD Projekt Red is going above and beyond when it comes to how they package standard editions. Well, Cyberpunk 2077 isn't the only game they announced at E3. They also unveiled that there's going to be a Switch port of The Witcher 3, the Switcher 3, as some people like to call it. And with this being an older game, they could have easily just shipped a box, you know, with the game inside for $60 and leave it at that. But what they're doing with Switcher 3 is actually releasing a physical standard edition that's akin to what we've seen before. So in this case, the box comes with the game itself, a map of the world, some stickers, and a compendium. So it comes with all these extra goodies, which I think is really neat. They're elevating what standard edition should be across the board. It's also worth noting that CD Projekt Red went out of their way to ensuring that they could fit the entire contents of Switcher 3, so the base game, all of its DLCs, all of its expansions, into a single cart. A lot of other games will cheapen out by going for a 16 gigabyte cart, so they cannot fit all of the files in there, and as a result, players would have to download the rest of the game via the internet. CD Projekt Red, on the other hand, is not making any compromises here. They went for that higher, more expensive 32 gigabyte cart so that players would have everything in there, won't have to download anything. If you don't have an internet connection, you're good to go from the get-go. So what's great about that is, of course, aside from the convenience of not having to download extra things, is that you actually own the entirety of a game in that card. It's all in there. You don't have to go to the internet and access another half of it. You have the game in your hands, literally. I think it's just, it's a small gesture, but I think it shows a lot about who these guys are, what their principles are. I think it's small gestures that go a long way in defining what a company stands for. So yeah, I mean, what more is there to say? These guys understand that goodwill is priceless, that goodwill goes a long way in a company thriving, in the long-term future of a company. And yeah, it just really feels like CD Projekt Red is a company that is in the fortunate position of being able to control their own fate. They don't have like overlords looking down and telling them what to do. And they're using that to their advantage, and they're using that for good. They're not just trying to do the bare minimum of what they should do for consumers. They're really trying to maximize consumer value, consumer friendliness. It really feels like they're putting into practice this notion of do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. It feels like they're looking at it from the perspective of, if I were on the other side of the fence, if I was a consumer right now looking into CD Projekt Red from the outside, how would I want them to, carry themselves? How would I want them to sell their products? What would I expect from them? What would make me happy? And they're just using that to fuel their principles. And it's working out wonderfully. I think Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be a massively successful game, not just because it looks amazing, but also because people trust CD Projekt Red. They have built all this trust over the course of how many years now, and that trust and all the good PR that stems from that will go a long way in just increasing the reputation of what is already a beloved company that's only getting more and more beloved as time passes. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you for tuning in. Let us know in the comments below how you think CD Projekt Red did during E3 2019. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.